Thank you, Radha. Good afternoon and best wishes to all of you on the International Day of Older Persons, which is today. At the outset, I want to thank Dr. Rao for giving me this opportunity, and I'm very happy to be here to share some of my views with all of you. Elder abuse is emerging as a widespread serious problem. It's showing among the different socioeconomic groups, religious communities, and various states cutting across rural-urban divide. So there is nobody who hasn't experienced it in some form or the other. There's also increase in media coverage on the issue, so we get to hear more of it. There's growing evidence of its occurrence from crime records, small-scale research studies, and NGO activities. Abuse can be identified as material exploitation, financial deprivation, property grabbing, isolation, abandonment, verbal humiliation, emotional and psychological torment, placing older people's health at risk with poor or lack of care. There's definitely requirement for public discourse on this. We need to recognize older persons with rights, entitlements to benefits, privileges, and services, same as other citizens, if not more or special. We need to put caring in the service context. Issues of quality in caring and maintaining adequate standards of hygiene become relevant. For combating abuse, there is need to establish new services such as daycare centers, counseling units, etc. There's need to make provision for palliative care, provide respite care facility, train individuals to understand aging needs and experience. Quite on rise is institutional abuse, but this is seldom considered as a concern. But it merits attention in terms of the liability of those who organize and run institutions or old age homes with an obligation to care for the residents. And this is becoming more pertinent in today's world. More awareness is needed on institutions involved with caring for older persons, as they do have legal liability and obligation to perform their task through the Indian Contract Act 1872 and the law of torts. So you can apply this and get justice when abuse occurs at the institution base. Also, the provision in the Indian Penal Code under which breach of contract may attract criminal liability. The role of adult protection legislations is quite important in this context. For the government, maintenance of old parents by children is a crucial issue. There's a comprehensive statutory provision as to maintenance, and the Welfare and the Maintenance of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2007 talks about this. The other legislations in place are Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 1956, the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 under Section 125, both 1 and 2nd part. However, there are problems in implementation. We see that the implementation of the Maintenance Act has been very slow. Not all states have adopted it. Many state governments have not even given serious thought to legal interventions for safeguarding the interests of older persons. The rights of older persons with regard to those involved with care are not even addressed comprehensively, and that you saw, as Dr. Vinod Kumar also mentioned, there's a lot of violation of rights. Therefore, a fundamental concern is we need to know what prevents people from using available legislations. Should criminalization of abuse and neglect as a combating strategy be encouraged or avoided? Or is it much more productive and fruitful to treat elder abuse as a social service concern than to deal with it as a new area of criminal behavior? Areas of intervention and action strategies are: we need to assist organizations to provide protective services, provide helpline services, counseling, etc., strengthen neighborhood watch system, And this, I have seen in many cases, it has helped a lot when neighbors go and question a family, especially the children, if they are not taking good care of parents. It helps because we are all very ashamed to talk about ourselves outside. Direct police to be vigilant. More effort in understanding the underlying causes of abuse is needed, identifying risk factors, and developing appropriate public health interventions. Response from the health community is a must, so we need to strengthen the role of the health provider in detection and management of elder abuse. And this doctors can do because when they see bruises or when they see withdrawal symptoms, they can easily intervene. Assessment of the relationship of the older person with the care provider can be assessed by the medical community. Assessment of the abuser's problems can also be done. And it is important for the doctor to be, and the nursing staff, to be a counselor and enabler for liaison with the police or social worker. Advice for institutionalization if abuse at home cannot be prevented. It's also important to recognize the caregiver burden, because very often, as also pointed out by Meera, the patient or the older person is ill-treated because the caregiver is too stressed to take care. So we need to recognize the hidden patient. The strain on the caregiver has to be kept in mind. The stress conditions which bring in an unenabling environment, difficult living circumstances such as limited space, lack of privacy, limited caring ability and knowledge are important. So therefore, it is important that empower older persons to fulfill their needs. It's also important to recognize that individuals cannot be protected solely by the enactment of a law or by setting up protective service agencies. Therefore, it is important to make older adults less vulnerable by providing them with the concrete services necessary to improve the quality of their lives, and by providing their caregivers with the support and services required to extend their ability to cope with what can be very difficult burdens. Some of the preventive strategies are: educate and train families and caregivers on elder care, have a national response through awareness campaigns and reduce stigma and isolation for the aged. The government should work with the health sector to encourage responsiveness to carer and long-term care concerns. Acknowledge and respect the rights and dignity of older people while meeting their care needs. My recommendations are: have ongoing community education, have the government and the community alliance to promote prevention, support for age-friendly communities and active participation for older people, training and support for agencies and development of local agency protocols, such as collaboration with services outside health and community service sector, have the police, financial and legal services become more active. To conclude, I would say continued advocacy is required to ensure that public policy remains focused on the needs of older adults, adults with dementia, and adults in danger of abuse, and also on the needs of caregivers, both paid and unpaid, whether from the family or outside. The mistreatment or abuse of older people, either by a professional or a relative, is usually preventable through adequate support, training, ongoing supervision, and legal protection. So it is to tell you that please try to combat elder abuse, preventive, because it can be done, and do join my organizations. One is the International Network for Prevention of Elder Abuse. We are working in 68 countries. I hold the chair for Asia, and Ashish Goyal is holding the chair for India. And also by my other NGO, which is Development, Welfare and Research Foundation, WRF, where we take Little Things Matter initiatives. And I work through IMPIA on raising awareness and advocate for the rights of older people. Thank you for your patient listening.
Thank you, Dr. Mara. I think we can take 2 questions quickly, if there is one.
INPEA, that is IMPIA, it stands for International Network for Prevention of Elder Abuse.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mala. I think it was very good that you could finish much more in time.
Yeah, meant to.